Can Drake Maye win the starting job, and what will it take for him to get there? We'll tell you here on Patscast. Welcome to Patscast. I'm Brad Whitaker. We are looking ahead now to the 2024 NFL season and talking about Drake Maye a little bit. Does he have a chance to be the Patriots starter week one? Mac Jones, as a rookie, came in and won the starting job fair and square, but I think Drake Maye has a much bigger uphill battle to climb, at least here, if he's going to win the starting job, because he's in a much different situation than Mac Jones was. And I know when we talk about Mac Jones, we sit there and say, let's not replicate that. Let's move on from the guy. But Mac Jones looked pretty good coming into his rookie season and had a pretty good rookie year. Finished second in Rookie of the Year voting, only to Jamar Chase. Would have won it in other seasons. And Mac Jones ultimately won that job, but Drake Maye could not be more opposite of who Mac Jones was, especially coming out of college. Mac Jones, known as a high IQ quarterback, no arm strength, not very elusive, not mobile, certainly not fast, but was known as an accurate quarterback who could learn the playbook quickly and be a guy that you could count on right away. And for one season, he did look to be that guy, but the Patriots did not put the proper infrastructure around him, and he ultimately regressed, and we all know what happened there. Drake Maye, I'm not saying he can't learn the playbook quickly or he's not a high IQ quarterback, but he is very different. Obviously, he's got arm strength, he's got size, he can run, he's got a little bit of speed, although he's certainly not a fast quarterback compared to some of these other QBs in the league. He's no Lamar Jackson, but he has some issues with accuracy. He's going to have some issues learning an NFL offense, going through the progression, being under center. All of those things rookie quarterbacks struggle with, Drake Maye is probably going to struggle with. And Mac Jones only had to beat out Cam Newton in training camp, and he did that pretty easily. He was clearly the better quarterback, but I think Jacoby Brissett is a much better quarterback than what Cam Newton was heading into his second season in New England. And let's not forget, you still got Bailey Zappi there, and you got Joe Milton, the other rookie coming out of Tennessee. What if he's able to learn things a little bit quicker? Does he have a shot? Probably not to win the starting job, but could he potentially leapfrog Drake Maye if Drake Maye seems to have a much steeper learning curve? We'll see what happens there, but coming into the NFL, Drake Maye is a bit of a project. Now, that doesn't mean you can't clean up some of his mechanics, some of his footwork really quickly. And we heard Kevin O'Connell, head coach out of Minnesota, talk about this at a church event a few weeks ago. He was referring to Drake Maye, saying, I think we can clean up that footwork pretty quickly. We know the Minnesota Vikings wanted Drake Maye. They were willing to trade up to number 3 with the Patriots, but they were not able to offer the bag that the Patriots wanted to ultimately get a J.J. McCarthy or a Michael Penix. Patriots opted to stay put at number 3 and select Drake Maye. But Drake Maye would have been in a much better situation coming into Minnesota instead of a rebuilding offense with young receivers, young offensive linemen. We don't even know what's going to happen at the left tackle position. Is it going to be Caden Wallace? Is it going to be Okorafor? Are we going to move somebody else over there? We don't really know. Is there going to be a new guard, a rookie guard in there replacing Sidy Sow or Cole Strange? The only thing we're really confident in is David Andrews at the center role and Mike Onwenu at the right tackle position. So Drake Maye has a lot to overcome if he is going to be a week 1 starter in the NFL. And I'm saying I would not bet on it right now, but that doesn't mean he can't do it. And part of the reason is he has a new coaching staff that have worked with quarterbacks and had some success before. We all know what Alex Van Pelt did last season, working with Joe Flacco in Cleveland. That was a playoff team, a team that really overperformed, at least relative to expectations. Alex Van Pelt going to implement a new West Coast style offense, which is going to be a big difference from what we've seen in New England in the past, but he's had some success doing that, unlike Matt Patricia, who tried to implement a West Coast offense, and we all know what happened there. But it's not just Alex Van Pelt. I think Ben McAdoo is going to play a massive role when it comes to the development of Drake Maye. Now, I know Ben McAdoo has a reputation because he was not a great head coach when he was with the New York Giants for 2 seasons. I think it was 2016 and 2017. But let's not overlook some of the successes Ben McAdoo has had in the past. The reason he was elevated to a head coaching role is he was actually a pretty damn good offensive coordinator for the New York Giants a couple seasons before that. He was a decent offensive coordinator with the Carolina Panthers for a season, but he's also coached in different areas before. He was a tight ends coach for many seasons in Green Bay, also was a QB coach there, coaching Aaron Rodgers for a couple of seasons, was a QB coach in Jacksonville. He even was an offensive line coach for San Francisco well before that. So he's coming on as a senior offensive assistant. However, I think Ben McAdoo is ultimately, his project will be to work with Drake Maye to help clean up those mechanics, to help him learn a West Coast style offense and get him into that starting quarterback role sooner rather than later. Now, I'm not saying Drake Maye is going to come in and work with Ben McAdoo and suddenly his footwork is going to look like Tom Brady, but I think that is something that if you talk to any NFL coach, they say they can clean up very quickly. And I think Drake Maye, in terms of the things that he needs to fix, these are all fixable things and things that you can fix pretty quickly. Throwing dink and dunk throws, throwing up the middle, short throws along the sideline, mechanics, footwork. We've seen quarterbacks transcend that very quickly. I mean, look at Aaron Rodgers. Go watch some of his college highlights. Go watch his throwing motion. I know he sat on the bench for a few seasons, but he looks like a completely different quarterback in terms of his footwork, in terms of his throwing motion, than what he did in college. And I don't think Drake Maye has quite the same learning curve that Aaron Rodgers had. Because, I mean, if you go watch Aaron Rodgers, again, go look at his Cal highlights, completely different guy, and it was cleaned up rather quickly. If you look at some of his preseason highlights when he went to Green Bay, I think you could do something like that with Drake Maye. Clean up his footwork, make sure he's releasing the football a little bit higher. And another thing about Drake Maye, which you didn't have with Mac Jones, which you certainly didn't have with Tom Brady, is he's going to be able to bail you out of bad situations. And in training camp, when you're watching Jacoby Brissett, who, look, Jacoby Brissett is a much better pocket passer, has better arm strength, better accuracy than the last time he was in New England, but his mobility isn't what it once was. Like, he's been in the league for a little while now. He's not going to be able to bail the Patriots out of bad situations as they're rebuilding that offensive line the same way that someone like Drake Maye could potentially do. And if that comes out in training camp where you're going, all right, I don't see a huge drop-off here between Jacoby Brissett and Drake Maye when it comes to throwing accurate passes. Drake Maye seems to have cleaned that up. He's picking up the playbook quickly. I think we can put him out there because we know if the offensive line breaks down, he's going to be able to scramble and pick up 5 to 10 yards on the ground much easier than all these other quarterbacks we have on the roster. Maybe Joe Milton can do it, but Joe Milton's probably not going to be ready to start in the NFL, maybe ever. Like, he's probably a practice squad guy, at least his first season in the league. He's going to have to replicate the quarterbacks on the opposing team when they game plan. I wouldn't expect Joe Milton to even be on the depth chart. In all honesty, I think it's going to be Drake Maye, Jacoby Brissett, and Bailey Zappi. But we'll see if Zappi is even there once training camp starts. And then there is a spot for Joe Milton. We know they released Nathan Rourke, so he's no longer on the roster. He's not going to be in that QB room. There's also T.C. McCartney, who's a quarterback's coach. He's okay. I mean, he's young. He's 35, but he's coached for many, many years now. Has had some success, has had some ups and downs, but between Alex Van Pelt, between Ben McAdoo and T.C. McCartney, they're going to have a lot of guys there that are going to be able to work with Drake Maye and make sure he develops into the quarterback that is capable of starting in this league. Like I said, I would not bet on it. I would not expect to see Drake Maye out there in week 1, but there is a chance, right? If he comes into training camp and his athleticism, his ability to bail the offense out of bad plays is just off the charts relative to Jacoby Brissett, and he isn't struggling as much as we expect in terms of accuracy, in terms of learning the playbook, in terms of working under center, in terms of going through the progression, all the things that rookie quarterbacks struggle with, then he will win the starting job because Gerard Mayo is going to pick the best quarterback and put them out there because they're going to put the team in the best position to win. So, I don't know. But, again, this is not Mac Jones. This is the polar opposite of Mac Jones. Anyone that compares Drake Maye to Mac Jones should just be written off because they are completely different situations. You talk to players that played with Mac Jones his rookie season, they said there's nobody who picked up an NFL offense, who understood the playbook, understood the very complex Erhardt Perkins, Josh McDaniels style offense quicker than Mac Jones. I don't think Drake Maye, even though the West Coast offense is a bit more simplified than what Josh McDaniels did, I don't think Drake Maye is going to be able to pick it up quite as quickly. But we all know Drake Maye has the traits, and he has the ability to be a real NFL quarterback, an elite NFL quarterback, which Mac Jones hit his ceiling his rookie season. Drake Maye ideally is going to hit his ceiling after 4 to 5 seasons in the league. So it's a bit of a different situation. I think Jacoby Brissett is going to be much tougher competition than Cam Newton was to Mac Jones. But if Drake Maye is the better quarterback, he will win the starting job. And look, you compare him to guys like Josh Allen, right? Josh Allen actually, even though we think of him as starting right away in Buffalo, I think he was behind Nathan Peterman on the depth chart heading into week 1. And they were down like 40-0, and they're like, screw it, let's just put Josh Allen in there and see what happens. And he was the starting quarterback the rest of the way. I think he went down with an elbow injury like halfway through the season, but he was the starter in Buffalo, and we all know what Buffalo has done with Josh Allen. Go watch Josh Allen's final season in Wyoming. It was actually much worse than Drake Maye's final season at North Carolina. Both of them had great seasons the year before in college. But Josh Allen and Drake Maye are very similar in terms of their traits, in terms of their size, in terms of their arm strength. I think Josh Allen may be a little bit more, he has about an inch on Drake Maye, maybe a little bit more elusive, maybe has just a tad more arm strength, but there are real similarities between those two quarterbacks. And you put Jacoby Brissett out there, it doesn't work out. This could be a Buffalo Bills situation where you go, I don't think there's going to be a big drop-off between Brissett and Drake Maye. Let's just put Drake Maye out there. Yeah, he's going to be thrown to the wolves a little bit, but he is much more mentally tough than Mac Jones was, and Mac Jones was put in a much better situation. He had a better offensive line. I know the Patriots didn't have great receivers, but I'd say he had a better, at least more experienced receiving core than Drake Maye is going to have his rookie season. But if Jacoby Brissett goes out there and doesn't look very good, and Drake Maye seems to be doing better in practice, looks very similar in training camp, well, maybe it's a similar situation where you play Brissett for a game, you say, this didn't work, let's try Drake, or it didn't work with Brissett, let's try Drake Maye and see what happens now. And he's going to learn, and he's going to take a lot of hits, and we're not expecting a winning season here, but we know he's mentally tough, and that scar tissue is going to develop, and he's going to head into year 2 and year 3 and be a much better quarterback. Everyone says, like, you don't want to put him in a Mac Jones situation where he just gets in his head all the time. I don't think Drake Maye is that quarterback. I think he's a guy who's going to be able to bounce back from a tough situation, and that was a big reason Jerod Mayo said he drafted him after dealing with what they had to deal with Mac Jones, who is a good quarterback when he has protection, when he has time, but the moment he takes a hit, he turns into a different guy. I don't think Drake Maye is going to be that guy. Mac Jones needs to be in a perfect situation. I still think Mac Jones has the potential of being a good NFL quarterback. He just needs a very strong offensive line in front of him and a receiver or two who can separate. And then Mac Jones, I think, can go back to being what he was his rookie season. And maybe he will be in that situation in Jacksonville if Trevor Lawrence goes down. But I don't think you're going to have those issues with Drake Maye. He dealt with a terrible offensive line throughout his career in North Carolina. And he's dealt with adverse situations. And I think he's a guy who's going to be much more mentally tough and is going to be able to develop into that role a little bit better, even if there's going to be growing pains. And there certainly will be growing pains. He's probably going to throw deep bomb interceptions that are essentially punts. You know, he's going to make those mistakes. He's going to miss receivers in open coverage. He's going to do a lot of things that are very frustrating that Mac Jones didn't even do because they are very different quarterbacks. But you get into year 3, year 4, he has some experience under his belt. He could be a real star quarterback, top 5 NFL quarterback if all goes right. But we'll see what happens. Training camp's going to be fascinating because if Drake Maye looks even remotely similar to Jacoby Brissett, they're going to have a tough decision to make because, like I said, he's going to be able to bail you out of situations that these other quarterbacks cannot. So really, it's on Alex Van Pelt, it's on Ben McAdoo, it's on T.C. McCartney to help develop the guy, and it's on Jerod Mayo to put the best situation around him, whether that is starting Caden Wallace or Corafor at left tackle, making sure he has the protection he needs, and seeing whether Javon Baker, Jalen Polk are able to start as NFL wide receivers right away. I think they might. I think Javon Baker might be able to start right away as an outside boundary X, even if he's not going to be a true number one right off the bat. He can develop into that. And they got some pretty good other receivers with Kendrick Bourne, KJ Osborne, Demario Douglas. I think he's going to have a big leap. He had a great rookie season. He's going to be the slot receiver of the future in New England. They got a good couple tight ends and another tight end that they just drafted. So it's an exciting time. Hopefully it all works out. We'll be here to cover it at Pat's Cast. Let me know, do you think Drake Maye has the ability to start week one? And what would you like to see? What does he need to do to earn that job? I want to hear from you in the comments below. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel, or subscribe if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We'll be back the rest of the week with more Patriots coverage. We got the NFL schedule release coming up, so that's going to be very exciting. Patriots have a very tough schedule this year, so maybe that factors into the Drake Maye decision. We'll see what happens. We'll be here at Pat's Cast to cover it.
On the field, where legends play in the heart of New England, we'll win with Drake Maye. Our Patriots rise, the fire in their eyes, unyielding spirit, our battle cries. A new dawn breaks the stars, born Drake Maye, the strongest arm in the draft, forever adorned. With every throw, he'll light up the skies. A franchise QB, the ultimate fight.